Chapter 29. Act 2. The next morning, soft dawn light fell across my face. I let out a contented sigh and snuggled deeper into my pillows. It felt so nice to sleep in a real bed. All too soon, the beam of sunlight grew uncomfortably hot and bright on my face. I groaned and rolled onto my back. I watched the sunbeam stretch across the decorative ceiling tiles as I thought about the previous night's events. Ronnie and I hadn't learned much at the beach bonanza. Well, unless you count how to crack open giant lion crab legs, and that giant lion crabs existed. The Paradysians were all extremely friendly, but also extremely disinterested in discussing anything of substance. If you asked them about their outfit or their beverage choice, they'd eagerly launch into a story about how they'd picked it and what their friends thought about it and where we could try it for ourselves. But if you asked them about Panosyn's boats or what might be farther east, they gave a collective shrug that said, "Who cares?" Everyone we'd talked with had the same general outlook. They'd taken a leap of faith and they'd landed in paradise. Why would they question a good thing or look for anything else? No one knew anything about Jack either. That surprised me. I figured since Paradise was a remote island with fewer than 2,000 inhabitants, everyone would know each other fairly well. But turned out, Paradise was surprisingly cliquey. Ronnie and I had noticed it the moment we arrived at the beach bonanza. The party guests sat in groups of 15 people or fewer around brightly flickering braziers. Each group had their own buffet tables serviced by efficient all-terrain service bots. No one had any extrinsic motivation to get up and mingle, so they didn't. It's not that people actively excluded others from their group. They were all super welcoming when Ronnie and I approached, but no one bothered to initiate cross-click communication. One elderly woman, whose slim, bikinied body belonged on a cover of a retirement magazine, explained it like this. "The people I know are good enough for me. Why go through the bother of meeting new people when I'm satisfied with the people I've got? If someone wants to be my friend, it's on them to come over and say hello." Everyone was willing to chat as long as someone else put in the effort to initiate. So Ronnie and I did. We wandered down the beach, stopping at each group of revelers to ask questions and sample new foods. Initially, I was disappointed by the lack of deep conversation, but once I gave up my agenda of learning about the boats, I had a lot of fun at the bonanza. The varieties of foods was amazing. Luscious fruits, buttery seafood, puffy rolls, crispy salads, smoky cheeses, juicy steaks, decadent desserts. I tried to pace myself, but it was all too enticing. The Paradysians knew how to enjoy themselves. They told funny, self-deprecating stories and dared each other to do ridiculous things like unpeel a banana with their feet or do a chicken dance every time someone sneezed. They showed me how to roast fen mallows and teased me good-naturedly when my first attempt immediately caught fire. As the night progressed and everyone became increasingly inebriated, dancing became a priority. The Paradysians demonstrated how each brazier had its own soundproof music bubble created by anti-phase waves. That meant one group could blast raucous drum beats while their neighboring group was gently serenaded by a string quartet. The variety of dance styles down the beach was hilarious. Some groups waltzed romantically. Other groups jumped around with wildly flailing arms. One group even lifted each other in chairs and line danced their way into the ocean. No matter the dance style, everyone on the beach looked happy and completely carefree. By midnight, Ronnie and I were in a daze of rich food, friendly laughter, and strong drinks. We stayed just long enough to watch a phenomenal firework display before stumbling back to our rooms. Now it was morning. I stretched and looked at my clock. It was already 9:40 a.m. I'd never slept in that late before. Oh well, I thought. It's not like there's anything pressing to do today. Then I remembered the mountains I wanted to climb. Was it too late to start? How long did it take to climb a mountain anyway? I cleaned myself up and stepped into my Insta-closet. The clothes-generating platform welcomed me and showed me my reflection wearing a sunflower-patterned mini-dress. I raised my hand to swipe it away when a soft, disembodied voice announced, "This is today's top fashion. Say okay if you approve, or say more options if you'd like to see more options." I hadn't realized the platform was voice-activated. "Show me hiking clothes," I tried. Instantly, my reflection changed into a low-cut sports bra with a matching pair of booty shorts and arch-supporting sandals. I grimaced. I could feel the sunburns and thigh chafing already. I negotiated with the closet until it supplied me with a lightweight t-shirt and a pair of deep-pocketed cargo capris. I also grabbed a pair of extra-thick socks, a large blue shoulder canteen, and hiking boots with good traction. After dressing, I knocked softly on the open door frame that connected my room with Ronnie's. "Em, come and see this," came Ronnie's excited reply. Ronnie was standing in front of her bedroom mirror, admiring her newly perfected body. Ronnie had taken her new U pill, and it had worked as advertised. The lines beneath her eyes had disappeared. Her face glowed with perfectly even skin tone. Ronnie had always been curvy, but her body was now a textbook example of a perfectly sculpted hourglass figure. Her hair looked soft and healthy, her eyes were bright with life, and even her eyelashes looked longer. She was positively radiant. Standing next to her, I felt large and shabby with my practical hiking gear and my frizzy ponytail. But there was a reason I hadn't taken my new U pill. I was the control group. We agreed for me to abstain from the drug so I could better assess if it had any mental effects on Ronnie. I'm sure my old lab professor would be proud of our experiment. "You look fantastic," I told Ronnie. "How are you feeling?" "Like I'm ready to take on any mountain." Ronnie grinned. "After a big carby breakfast, of course." Ronnie had chosen to go with a low-cut sports bra and booty shorts. "I'd go naked if it was allowed," she admitted. "My body looks amazing, and I want the whole world to see it." We found our way down to the Grand Lanai where the huge breakfast buffet was held. We had just picked a table overlooking the bay when Ronnie unexpectedly latched onto my arm. "What is it?" I asked with concern as Ronnie's eyes bugged out. "It's him," she whispered, rising almost reverentially from her seat. "Jack?" I gasped. I followed Ronnie's gaze down to the beach terrace. There he was, the man from all the photos, sitting alone at a two-person table. After all the hype, I half expected to see a halo around the man, but all I saw was an average-looking guy with dark hair and wide shoulders casually sipping coffee while flipping through a magazine. His body was perfect, of course, but that was expected on an island of new U users. Ronnie clung to my arm, cutting off my circulation as she stared at her long-lost love in utter disbelief. "What are you waiting for?" I nudged her forward. "Go talk to him." "But I'm wearing booty shorts," she hissed. "'Cause you've got a sexy booty," I said, knowing it was what she wanted to hear. "You look amazing. Now go talk to him." Ronnie gave me a nervous smile and took a step toward the terrace. Then she froze. I followed her gaze to Jack's table. A short, attractive young woman was placing her hands tenderly on Jack's shoulders. He looked up at her adoringly and they kissed before she settled into the seat next to him. It was then I noticed their matching wedding bands. My heart shriveled as I looked up at Ronnie. Her mouth hung slightly open, and her eyes looked dim and vacant. I reached over to place my hand on her arm. "Ronnie," I faltered, trying to think of something, anything comforting to say. I need to be alone." Her voice cracked with emotion, and she practically ran out of the room. I sat there in shock, debating what to do. Should I follow Ronnie, or should I leave her alone like she'd asked? I watched Jack and his wife laughing over their omelets. The woman had similar features to Ronnie. The pecan-colored skin, the voluminous dark hair, the warm hazel eyes. Jack clearly had a type. Anger boiled through me. Jack had replaced Ronnie with a younger, bustier model, and I hated him for it. Were women really so interchangeable to him? I had half a mind to storm up to their table and... do what? Tell the woman about Ronnie? Maybe she already knew. Tell Jack he was a total prick? Drew had been right. Had Jack even tried to get back to Ronnie? She had been waiting on him for 10 sarding years, and here he was bumming around a tropical paradise a mere 10 days from Eridet. What a heartless, lazy jerk. How long had it taken for him to forget about Ronnie and shack up with Little Miss Big Breasts? My uncharitable seething was rudely interrupted by a smooth, sleazy voice.
"Hey now, what's a pretty young thing like you doing sitting all alone?"
I turned to see a middle-aged man with greased-back hair leering down at me. He wore teardrop sunglasses, a lurid floral shirt, and a scraggly caterpillar mustache. His aggressively ugly shirt was unbuttoned past his sternum to reveal a forest of curly graying chest hair.
"Mind if I take this seat?"
he simpered, pulling out Ronnie's abandoned chair. Yeah, I said, my brows furrowed in confusion and distaste. There were dozens of empty tables around us. Why did he have to bother me? He sat down next to me anyway.